If you thought we were joking about Will Wade having motion in the college recruiting game, what if he lands a top 5 kid in the country?
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Wednesday show is brought to you by FanDuel. Head over to FanDuel.com today, sign up, place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you can get $200 back in bonus bets. Waste no more time. Head over to FanDuel.com in order to get started today. Happy Wednesday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, we've spent a lot of time in the last couple months now talking about Will Wade and the buzz he's bringing to NC State, the level of recruiting that you can expect to see with Will Wade now at the helm, and the way that NC State as a whole is taking off and their capabilities of possibly returning to a prominent basketball program like they once were in the 70s and 80s. We saw on Monday that the number 3 overall player in the 2027 class, Josh Leonard, took an unofficial visit to NC State, meeting with Will Wade, still feeling out his college recruitment process. He's just kind of taking a bunch of offers right now, feeling things out. If Will Wade lands the number 3 overall recruit in the 2027 class, Kenton, what does that do for NC State basketball?
I mean, I think people need to understand Will Wade has already shown the motion. When you're talking about a number 3 guy in the nation, when you're talking about really the top 5 to 10 players in the nation, you get them for as long as you get guys that are really great out of the transfer portal. 1 year. Because you know what they're going to do after that 1 year? They're going to shake Adam Silver's hand. They're going to hold up a nice little ball cap saying what team they're going to be playing for the next however long. That is the de facto reality of getting a top 5, top 3, top whatever player. And so when you land a Darian Williams, it is in essence basically the same thing. It's just a much more proven product. But if we are talking, hey, what does it matter that this is specifically a high school kid? And what does it do for recruiting high school if you can land one of the best players in the country? I mean, let's just be honest. It's a monkey see, monkey do business, okay? It's a thing where these 17 to 18-year-old kids, they are very impressionable. Their friend goes to play for NC State. All of a sudden, they're looking at NC State. So, what's all that movement they got going on over there? What's all that motion they got going on over there? I may need to get a part of it. You know, that's kind of how those things work. So Will Wade having the number 3 recruit in the nation on campus is massive. That is a huge deal because when you talk about, again, the monkey see, monkey do aspect of it, the aspect of it, if you have a great player and they're coming to visit, their friends are coming to visit, next thing you know, then I fell in love with Riley. You know, cookout ain't $5 like it used to be, but I'm going to tell you, that's how they got me. That's how they got me. I saw that shit. I said, hold on. All this for $5? Wait a minute. But in all seriousness, this is a moment where Will Wade is showing I can do something that has not been done here forever, because when's the last time we had a top single-digit recruit? You know what I mean? Like, what would that be? Rodney Purvis? And I'm not even sure if he was a single-digit. Oh, Dennis Smith Jr., actually.
Yeah.
Might have been there.
But I had the answer. I just didn't want to say it.
Was Dennis Smith Jr. top 5 in the country? In terms of
I don't know if he was top
overall?
5, but he was like top 7, top 8-ish.
But that's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, you secure these types of players. And here's another big difference between this and that. Even if we say, well, the Dennis Smith thing was tarnished or whatever the case may be, that was also a coach that had been here for years, that has set his roots in a meaningful way. This is a coach we're looking at. Off-season number 1. Off-season number 1, pulling in a top 5 player to come visit. So this is a massive deal. This is a very big deal. Will Wade is building this program brick by brick, and I'm just excited to be here to see it.
For reference, I pulled some names of all of the previous number 3 overall player in the nation for the last, I don't know, like 10-ish years. And I'm not doing this to pick on Kevin Keatts because I even took some names back from the Mark Gottfried era, but just to get the point across about the era that you're entering for NC State basketball. It's the most influential era of NC State basketball since the Jim Valvano days. There's a reason that we keep saying that. The next 5-ish years of whatever Will Wade does at NC State will most likely determine if NC State can be a basketball school, a true basketball school. If we're ever going to reach that mark again, it's probably going to at least have the building blocks laid down by Will Wade in the next 5 years. What you
Absolutely.
This will change NC State forever, for better or for worse. I guess we'll have to find out, but just listen to some of these names just to get the point across. For example, Kevin Keatts took over NC State in 2017. Imagine if he landed DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton went on to be the number 1 overall pick in the 2018.
It was a double-double machine
NBA
at Arizona.
draft. He was a monster. You know what's funny about that? Keatts actually beat DeAndre Ayton in the Bahamas, funny enough. So shout out Kevin Keatts for that. But imagine if we had Ayton on that team. Changes everything. Imagine if Keatts had Cam Reddish from Duke in 2018. Cole Anthony, who went to the Dirty Foot Club in 2019. Jonathan Kuminga, Jaden Hardy, Nick Smith, Ron Holland, Dylan Harper, who's very likely about to be the 2nd overall pick here in a couple weeks. All of those guys completely change everything for Kevin Keatts. Remember when Mark Gottfried took NC State to the Sweet 16 and beat number 1 seeded Villanova back in, 2015? Imagine if that team had Karl Anthony Towns on it. Like, that's what we're talking about here. This level of recruiting, if Will Wade delivers at least like just one of these kids, let alone creating a pipeline to Kenton's point, then it gets popular. Then these kids want to team up and come to NC State and run the ACC if it still exists later on down the road. That's what you're looking at. You are entering, fact, the most influential era of NC State basketball. Stamp it.
And at the end of the day, this is still vision we're talking about. We're still talking vision. We're not talking proven results on the court at NC State yet. That is what is so amazing about all this. And at the end of the day, in Slater, we trust. In Wade, we trust. We're cruising down Wade Avenue. For those of you who don't know, there's a thing called Woodward Dream Cruise in Detroit where people bring out all their old school cars and they ride down Woodward Boulevard, blasting whatever wonderful music they can play. And I'm telling you, right now we're having a Wade Avenue Dream Cruise. We're cruising down the street in R6 Never mind. We are rocking out with Will Wade because he is showing immediate results. This is what is so exciting about this time. Grace is talking about most influential time at NC State in quite some time, and we haven't played a game yet. He hasn't coached a game yet. And yet we're still sitting here saying, man, this team is going to be something serious. This team is going to be something special. We're doing things in recruiting that haven't been done in forever and a day. What a time to be an NC State fan.
And connecting those dots, imagine if he wins in year 1 or wins in year 2, makes it to the Elite 8 in year 2 or year 3. I promise you, if this all happens, and yes, it's hypothetical because he hasn't coached a game yet. We haven't won anything. We haven't done anything. We don't deserve anything until we do win stuff. I got all that. But in the hypothetical world here in which we're living currently until we do tip this thing off, if Will Wade experiences massive amounts of success and NC State becomes the hot name on the block, becomes the place that kids come to develop, play in the ACC, and get to the NBA draft and potentially be a first-round pick because the majority of the names I just read to you are all first-rounders. If Will Wade gets that done, everything changes for NC State. Mark my words. It's all hypothetical until it isn't. Watch the way that this man goes to work alongside Andrew Slater and the rest of the staff. Coming up next, we're getting into a whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our Wednesday show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA Finals are now here, and every single night is sure to deliver highlight-worthy performances. From major momentum shifts to simply cannot-miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and even playing live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans now have more ways than ever before to play smart and win big. Who are you taking in the NBA Finals? Will it be the Indiana Pacers or the OKC Thunder, a team that was built up by Andrew Slater? Who will it be raising the trophy at the end of the championship series? Perhaps you get in on that action. If you're new to FanDuel, now's the perfect time to sign up. You can head over to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you can get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Make every moment more this NBA Finals with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Middle portion of our Wednesday show. Now time for a whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something. 3 topics. We'll tell you exactly where we stand on them. So first one here, NC State baseball, they went out sad. They went out with not even a whimper in the regional final against Auburn. Lost by a score of 11-1. My question to you, Kenton, was it a disappointing season or a disappointing finish?
I'd say disappointing finish. I mean, up till this point, or really up till about the last month, things were rolling, and it was a very up and down season because you start off the season playing just, some of the worst baseball we'd seen in quite some time here. And then you pick it up and then you hit the apex where you're climbing. Then you hit a peak where you beat Clemson and all that. And then after that, it's a disappointing finish. All in all, yes, the start to the season was disappointing as well, but I would probably say it was more of a disappointing finish than a disappointing season because historically speaking, Elliott Avent teams, after Avent goes to the College World Series, we don't see his teams go to the tournament next year. His team did it. We're excited about it, but still disappointing finish.
My answer is a little bit of a cop-out, but I actually think it's both. But because of how disappointing the finish was, I think in a way it kind of taints the entire season. And I know they were young. They had a lot of things to work out in terms of the rotation, getting guys in and out of the lineup. You did lose your biggest contributions from an Omaha team last season, but the way that they were playing when they ran into Clemson and they swept Clemson and found themselves atop the ACC with merely a handful of games left to play, the way that they folded and just pissed down their leg and let all of that go, they could have won the ACC regular season title if they maybe even had a different matchup in the ACC tournament. Could have played for the ACC title. You never know. They could have also been a regional host, having the chance to win a regional at home instead of having to go on the road and struggle as badly as they did. In my mind, as bad as the end of the season was, it really kind of taints the majority of the season for me. And there's still a ton of talent that hopefully can get retained from this team. I'm looking at guys like Jacob Duden and Ryder Woodson. We'll talk more about him in just a second here. There's still a very solid young core on this team. And if you can keep together even 95% of it and then add in a couple things to the portal, you got a real good chance to have a solid club again next year. But the way that they flamed out for me this season is a disappointing finish to what now feels like a disappointing season.
That's a great point. That's a really great point. And honestly, you've kind of convinced me that this ending was so sour that it in fact infects the season as well. Because, again, it's just, you never want to see this, man. You never want to see a season, even though we talk about the teams before where Avent made the World Series and the next year they still retained a good amount of talent and you're shocked by this. Again, I'm still a big believer in everything you do should be centered around, hey, winning is the expectation. Winning is not everything. It's the only thing. And it didn't feel like the vibe at the end of the season, and I get it. We talk about baseball being fickle all the time. 3-8 ain't fickle. That's just who you are. That's just who you are. So, it hurt to see that. And, it really does leave you feeling empty when there was so much promise all of 3 weeks ago or so.
As young and as inexperienced as they may be, I just believe they have too much talent to go out the way that they did. So, yeah, it was pretty pathetic in a sense to watch them go out to finish the season like that. On a related note here, on Tuesday, third baseman Matt Hevner and Ryan Jaros have both entered the transfer portal. Seems like Ryder Woodson had such a good performance over the weekend. He might just be the guy going into next season. Kenton, whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Whole lot of something. The chancellor got boys nervous. The chancellor then came in and said, hey, I'll take it from here. Don't you worry about it. We'll continue our streak of excellent third base play. But in all seriousness, more power to the young men who entered the portal. I mean, both very fine players. These are not guys that I would say, who did they play it all this year? But at the end of the day, if Ryder is the future, then we're riding with Ryder, pun intended there. So, I wish well the players that are gone. Chancellor, it's your time, baby. Let's roll.
It's just the way these things work. And so for me, it's basically a whole lot of nothing. I mean, credit to Matt Hefner. He was a good defender this year. I think he led the country in sacrifice bunts. He had a lot of meaningful contributions for this team, but we never really quite got what we needed at a consistent rate from him at third base. Ryan Jaros, kind of the same. I wished we saw him a lot more in the lineup. For whatever reason, didn't really see him a ton this year. Still had pretty decent power numbers when we did see him. So not exactly surprised to see him transfer either, especially with Ryder Woodson blowing the cover off the ball this past weekend at Auburn. So yeah, I'm with Kenton here. If Ryder Woodson is that guy, and by all accounts, I mean, extremely small sample size, he does appear to be, then I'm all in on that. Buy into the future. Go ahead and shore that up. Don't let him leave Raleigh, because you might in fact have something going into next year. Last one here, Wes Moore is officially on the board. Caden Samuels is the first transfer commitment for NC State women's basketball of the offseason. Kenton, are you concerned that they only have one and it occurred on May the 30th?
No, it's Wes Moore. Wes Moore has earned the leeway. I don't care what he does or how he does it. So long as it does not end up with him or one of his players or assistant coaches in handcuffs, don't care. I'm going to trust him. Okay? I don't care if you talk about small gym, he's not him, transfer portal blues filled with vigor and vim, Wes Moore and 5. Okay? I got Wes Moore every single time here because, again, he's earned it. He's earned it. What coach in our Big Four sports has matched his level of success here at NC State? Will Wade hasn't coached a game. Coach Doran, love you. All due respect. Again, floor raiser. I have talked about this ad nauseum in terms of most schools in America, if you win 7 to 8 games a year, they'll build you a statue. Doran is doing that here. That's just the reality. You can say what you want about him. He's won ball games. So that's what you got there. Elliot Avon, has he had that level of success? No. Has Doran took us to the equivalent of a Final Four? No. So, at the end of the day, nobody has earned the latitude like Wes Moore to say, I'm trusting you. Even when the roster looks shaky, I'm trusting you. Even when you're going to be outside the top 25 to start the season, I'm trusting you, Mr. Frank Wesley Moore. I'm trusting you, brother.
I do have a slight bit of concern because of how many players they did miss out on in the last couple weeks to a couple months, but I'm with you on the fact that Wes Moore has earned all of our trust. Has he not shown you enough with what he can build for a program over the course of a season that he is to be trusted with one in his hands? He is. He has become very quickly one of the top women's basketball coaches ever at NC State, and he should be treated as such. Now, I've heard there's some potential NIL struggles there. I mean, I guess you have to make the best of what you got, but your first transfer commitment coming from UConn is also a pretty good sign, because there's only a handful of programs that you're going to feel really good about when you pluck one off of their roster. UConn's one, South Carolina's one, and maybe Baylor and LSU. Caden Samuels coming from UConn feels to be a good get, even if she didn't play that much for Gina Auriemma yet. If she can unlock another level of her game here in Raleigh, I think Wes Moore will be on the beneficial side of that acquisition for sure. So I guess we'll have to find out. I have a slight bit of concerns, but in Wes Moore we trust as always. So for right now, a whole lot of nothing. Coming up next, we're getting into college football win tiers in the 2020s. This kind of sparked a little bit of an interesting debate. We'll talk about it more after a quick word from our sponsors. Last couple minutes of our Wednesday show, let's talk some college football win tiers for the 2020s. Now, this was a tweet put out. We were tagged in actually several times. People want us to discuss what NC State is doing in this particular tier. I'll now bring that up on the screen. As you can see here, it's broken off into several different tiers, and it's by win. So you see the Georgia Bulldogs at the very top of your screen. They're in a league of their own. They have 60-plus wins since the year 2020. Below them, you have 50-plus. That's Alabama, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Michigan, and Clemson. Elite programs, blue bloods of college football. Not surprised at all to see them there. The tier below that, you have 40-plus wins since 2020. You have Oregon, BYU, Penn State, Texas, Ole Miss, SMU, Iowa, Oklahoma, Tennessee, LSU, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and NC State. Now, to a lot of people, and this is a joke that Kenton has already, I'm going to take my turn at it. NC State kind of looks like a polar bear in the middle of Texas. You're like, wait a minute, 40-plus wins. I see Oregon. They've played in the Rose Bowl recently. I've seen Texas. They're in the national semifinals. Ole Miss is consistently winning 10 games. Tennessee's been hovering around 9 to 10 in the SEC. LSU's won a national championship. Wait a minute. Is that the Tuffy head I see there right next to all of those schools? Kenton, I'm not going to lie to you. This list kind of takes you back a little. However, on the other side of that, there is a truth to the fact that when people have talked about in the national media how consistent that Dave Doeren has been at NC State, I mean, the proof is right here. He is in a league of other elite teams in college football. Now, I will also say not all wins are created equal because, like I said, Oregon's been to the Rose Bowl. Texas has been in the CFP. You have Tennessee in the CFP. SMU just went to the CFP. Competed for an ACC championship. NC State has not done anywhere close to any of that. But yet, here they are in the same tier of all of those other schools that have. What do you make of this?
This is why I say Doeren needs his respect for being a floor raiser. If you look at all of these other teams, particularly Oklahoma State, do you want to guess what Oklahoma State's record was last year?
I believe it was 3-9.
Correct. 3-9. 3-9. This is what I mean by these teams have higher highs than Doeren, but some of them have much lower lows than the NC State program with Doeren. Now, you say all wins are not created equal. I disagree. I think the wins, by and large, are created equal. What's not are the seasons. We have seen seasons where Oklahoma State has played in their conference championship. Hasn't Kansas State since 2020 played in one Big 12
yes.
championship?
They won it, too. They won it.
Okay. Iowa has played in a conference in a Big Ten championship. So has Penn State. So has I'm sorry, not Oklahoma. Oklahoma's obviously won a few in the Big 12, but so has Oregon played in a Big Ten championship. So these schools have not had the same level of consistency, but they have all had higher highs than Doeren. That cannot be argued. That cannot be debated. Nobody can say, oh, these teams that are here just got here by accident. None of them have, been historically bad overall since 2020. It's just that they've had seasons with higher win totals, which has been my constant gripe about Doeren. The ceiling needs to be raised. We need that year where you're in the conference championship. We need that year where everything breaks right for you and you get to where you got to go. We just haven't had it. We've been close. We've knocked on the door. We've thought, oh, this is the year, and then everything falls apart with one or two crucial injuries where we can't have them, like last year, to where you and I both knew there were two spots that we could not get hurt at more than any other, anywhere in that linebacker room and quarterback. And where did we get hurt at, Grayson?
Both of them.
Both of them. Linebacker, starting Mike linebacker, tears his ACL. Quarterback has a severe concussion. He's retired. Like, that's just – I'm not making an excuse for Doeren. I'm not saying Doeren has been perfect. I am not a Doeren defender in any regard. And Doeren and I have talked about that in person. He knows I love him, with all my heart. But at the end of the day, I'm going to tell the truth on this air like I always do. The reality of this is Doeren has raised the floor, but we need that ceiling year. We need it. We need that year that bumps us up to 10 wins. We need that year that bumps us up to ACC championship contention. We just haven't had it.
This came from Chris S. on Twitter at DBullsFan. He tagged us in it and wanted more of our thoughts. He also wanted more respect for Dave Doeren because of the NIL angle to this. When you look at the NIL budgets for all these other schools that are in the very same tier as NC State,
or even above.
Or even above NC State in regards to Alabama and Ohio State. There's some below NC State in the 30-win category that are spending exponentially more than NC State is. And so that kind of raises the second point here. There's people that say Doeren has overachieved with the lack of funding, the lack of buy-in from the administration, and yet he's still registering 7, 8, 9 wins pretty consistently, somewhat consistently outside of last year and a couple others. He's been in the conversation. He's not reached an ACC title game. He's wanted to knock on the door a couple times, haven't quite gotten through to it. So there's also people that say he's underachieved. I think both people are correct because Doran has overachieved with the resources he has. He has been a consistent model of success in the ACC. But on the other side of that, he has lost a lot of games to Wake Forest that cost him a New Year's Six Bowl, cost him an ACC championship berth, cost him a 10-win season, lost at home to Boston College a couple of years ago on Senior Day.
Yep.
I think I'll be scarred forever due to that one. There's so many instances of just these shortcomings in big moments, and it has scarred the fan base. And you're very right to feel that way. Kenton and I alike, we're not Doran defenders. We're just going to shoot you as straight as we possibly can on this. He has both overachieved, but he's also underachieved. And until you break through, you haven't ever broken through. Until you get to Charlotte, until you win an ACC championship, you will forever be labeled as the coach that can't get it done. You'll forever be labeled as the coach that can't win in a big game, that can't shine on the biggest stage. Because also people talk about this a lot. Kenton, how many quote unquote big wins would you say that Doran has at NC State? I can think of, 3. Louisville at home, Florida State on the road. I think that was a good win. And what else? Would you say Clemson at home? Why is there balloons?
Well, you did the peace sign and you have an Apple product, so it does that. But I see that even the balloons are celebrating those big wins because they're so few and far between. But you know what? I agree that those are the main big wins that we would look at here. And honestly and truly, I think Doran truly got deprived of a fourth because that win against UCLA that would have put him at 10. And by the way, for anybody saying that's a hypothetical, they wouldn't have done it. That UCLA team did not beat a single team that season that had a winning record or a 500. No, they didn't beat a single team that had a winning record. The best record that they beat that year was 500. NC State was well over 500. That team was going to put belt to behind. Chip Kelly was tired of being there. But I think that that's probably the only game where you're like, oh, shucks, you kind of missed one there. But you're right. I think there's only been 3. So you're not wrong. Like you said, I still hold to the value that winning is winning, but the seasons just haven't come in a way that Doran has done that 10 plus. He's done his big one, as the kids would say. He hasn't done his big one yet. And so we're really looking forward to that, hoping that it comes or hoping that something changes so that we do have a big one. But please be aware, if something changes in terms of coach, there is much worse than being in this third tier. Like, that's just an objective fact. There is worse than being in this third tier.
There's far worse. Look at this list and tell me, would you rather be Virginia Tech? Absolutely not. Would you rather be Georgia Tech? Would you rather be Northwestern, Cal, Purdue? You wouldn't want to be any of those schools because the level of consistency that NC State has had in the 2020s, just a couple days ago, I think it was sometime last week, I said that many of us have now witnessed in these last 12 to 13 years the best era, at least the most consistent era of NC State football. I think that is undeniably true. I know that Chuck Amato won 10 games and had Phillip Rivers and they beat Notre Dame and, Dave Doran has not sniffed 10 wins quite yet. That is still true, but Doran has been much more consistent over a longer period of time. You have witnessed the best NC State football that many of us have seen because for the lifelong NC State fans that grew up on guys like Harrison Beck, who has crashed out and is doing throw God videos on TikTok now, that's what I had to watch when we were winning 5 games and 6 games, maybe 6 games and getting to a bowl. That used to be a good year. It's no longer a good year. How many of us were hand over fist pissed that we were 6-6 last year? And I know it's because the expectations were, possibly 10 and playing for an ACC title, but 6 wins is no longer good enough at NC State. And that's how the floor and the ceiling has been raised. So regardless of what you think about Doran, however you feel about Doran, I'm not going to police any of that because, again, the two of us possibly get more frustrated than any of y'all. We're right there with you. Every time we lose, we don't want to talk about it. We know the opportunities that have been blown, but you have to understand the other side of that. He has overachieved at NC State. That's basically a fact. He has done more with less over a longer period of time than anyone else has at NC State. That will do it for us here on Wednesday. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Tell us your thoughts on Will Wade potentially already flirting with top 3 players in the country. Give us your thoughts on NC State baseball ending their season in the regional final at Auburn. Give us your thoughts on the transfer portal. Wes Moore finally landing a player out of the transfer portal, and this college football win tier. NC State being in the 40-plus win tier for the last 5 years. Give us your thoughts on that. Do you think that Doeren has overachieved, underachieved, or possibly somewhere in the middle? Give us all your thoughts on that as well. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll see you right back on Friday for more for Fan Friday. Until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.